It's a good AGam in Kansas morning. Good morning. Let's take a look and see what's coming up today. First, Brad Shogren, a producer from McPherson County, talks about his family's diversified crop and livestock operation. Then Charlie Arnot, CEO of the Center for Food Integrity, discusses this organization's mission to build trust in today's food system. Next, we have tips on preserving the cucumbers you grow this summer and how to increase the effectiveness of your streamside forest buffers. We'll end with the complicated issues surrounding the diagnosis of a neurologic horse. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
I'm Brad Shogren. I'm a producer from McPherson County in central Kansas. We're a diversified farm operation with my son. We raise a variety of different crops: corn, soybeans, wheat, sorghum, sometimes some sunflowers, alfalfa, and we do have some irrigated land that we water our crops with. We also have a stock or backgrounding operation at home to where we feed a few livestock every year. We employ several different conservation methods to enhance and improve our ground. Probably the backbone of what our ground that we use would be our terraces and waterways, which we use to eliminate the soil erosion on our farm. We're not no-till, but use conservation tillage, where we try and leave a certain amount of residue on the surface. We're always looking for new and better methods that we can utilize. We've employed and used some grass strips along some streams to prevent some fertilizer and herbicide runoff to enter those streams. And while we're talking about streams, one of the big problems in our area is we have a lot of stream banks that are becoming unstable and going vertical on us, that can cause considerable erosion, loss of farm ground. And then they're working for over the last 10 or 15 years to address some of those sites with different techniques and methods to stabilize those banks. On a local level, I serve on our Conservation District Board. I'm currently chairman. I've been on that board for 10 or 12 years. Through that endeavor, I was elected to the State Conservation Commission. So I serve now as a governing body for the Division of Conservation under the Kansas Department of Agriculture. Also been involved in the RAPS groups in our local area in the formation of our Smoky River RAP. And that group was formed to address the stream bank sites on the Smoky Hill. We've been very effective in that group to where we've done somewhere around 20 sites on the river, and there's still much more that needs to be done. We're also looking at employing different methods to address the water quality concerns that are in the Smoky. We're looking at the livestock facilities up and down the river to make sure that there's no runoff coming off those facilities and to improve the stream flow. And in the Smoky, there's no impediments such as herbicide carryover, but we are aware of what's going on there. So we do promote good management of those herbicides when they are applied.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
There's a lot of different ways of doing this woodwork, but all of it still takes both hands.
He had been told that by the orthopedic specialist in Enid, Oklahoma, that they would have to fuse his thumb.
And I said, no, cut it off, because I didn't want it sticking up. And I found out about the Kansas regenerative stem cell and went to Manhattan.
We were so impressed with how royally we were treated the first time we came to Kansas Regenerative.
We came in and he took out the stem cells. It took about an hour for him to process them before they put him back in my knees and my thumb. And we were out of here in about 4 hours and on our way back home. And I'm in here today to have my shoulders, my hips, and my back done. So I'll be able to go back to my sawmill, my shop, and do about anything I want to do.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Food Integrity, Charlie Arnot.
The Center for Food Integrity is a not-for-profit organization with primarily focused in the U.S. We have affiliates in Canada and Australia as well. And our mission is to build trust in today's food system. And we work with a number of different stakeholders, over 150 different members and project partners, ranging from farmers and farm organizations to food processors, retailers, restaurants, and their various associations, all working collectively on finding strategies to build trust in today's food.
What inspired this initiative?
There were a group of organizations that came together in 2007 and were increasingly concerned about the growing lack of trust in today's agriculture and in today's farming, and began to look at different approaches and different strategies. And historically in ag, we'd always relied on kind of science and attacking our attackers and traditional public relations to protect our interests. This group was trying to focus on, rather than trying to defend an interest, how do we go about building trust in who we are and what we do? And so that really was the genesis for creating the Center for Food Integrity, was a desire to take a different approach. And instead of defending who we are and what we do, how do we go about building trust in today's food and agriculture?
I want to reiterate and stress the breadth of entities that are represented by this center throughout all aspects of agriculture.
Yeah, it's incredibly diverse, and that's by design. I mean, one of the strengths of the center is we have no natural constituents. We don't defend or protect or speak on behalf of any particular sector or brand. That enables us to bring a very diverse group of stakeholders together. We think there's plenty of room for everyone in the marketplace. So whether you produce organic or conventional or natural or whatever it happens to be, there's plenty of room. And we think that giving consumers the information they need to make informed choices can be very helpful in building trust in the entire system. We surveyed 6,000 U.S. consumers over 3 years, asking them questions about on-farm animal care, sustainability, food safety, nutrition, a whole range of different topics. And what we found was that confidence, or the perception of shared values, is 3 to 5 times more important than demonstrating technical competency in building trust. It's helping people make a connection with the men and women who are involved in agriculture and farming. What's interesting today is we've gone from mass communication to masses of communicators with social media. It's really important that we understand the importance of being engaged in the conversation. So it's less about telling, it's less about sharing information, it's more about listening, it's about embracing skepticism, and then participating in a dialogue in a way so that people understand that you appreciate their concerns, you're willing to listen, and then you have information that's relevant to them.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at KFRM.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on AGam in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
During the summertime, pickles are a great way to preserve cucumbers, and lots of people grow a lot of cucumbers. So knowing how to pickle them right is the best way to go so you can save them for later use. So the first thing you want to do is start off with good recipes. We have a publication called Preserving Cucumbers. Great recipes will give you a great end result. It's best to preserve your cucumbers the same day that you pick them. That way you get the best quality pickle in the end. One thing you need to do with your cucumbers is always cut off the blossom end. The blossom end of your cucumber contains an enzyme that can cause softening of your pickles in the end. So you always want to cut off about a 1/16 inch at least of the blossom end of the cucumber. The other basic ingredients in pickles include salt and vinegar and spices. So for pickling, it's best to use canning and pickling salt. All the pickle recipes are based on this type of salt. The next thing you need to have is good vinegar, and it should say 5% acidity on it. That's what you need for pickling. And you can use white vinegar or cider apple vinegar. And then spices, the fresher the better. Always buy new spices every year. For dill pickles, of course you can use heads of freshly grown dill, or you can buy dill seed. There's also pickling spices that are already mixed together. A couple other things that you might use in some of your recipes are firming agents. One of them that's been used for a long time is called pickling lime, and this makes a nice crunchy pickle. And then to help it make the whole pickling process even easier are these packaged mixes that you'll see. Pickles are typically canned in either pints or quart jars. There's also a jar in between that, which is 1.5 pints. And then all your pickles should be processed in a boiling water bath canner. This is the safest way to get rid of yeast and mold and any enzymes that might be active inside your cucumbers. Plus you can store your pickles by doing this for up to 1 year. So after you've put your cucumbers and your pickles through your water bath canner, you want to let them cool completely for at least 12 hours up to 24 hours. Always check the seal, make sure your jars have sealed well. Remove the rings and clean up your jars, make sure there's no residue left over, and then you can store them in your cabinet. A cool, dry, dark location is best because light and temperature changes can affect the quality and the safety of your pickled product and any of your canned products that you make at home. There's also refrigerator and freezer type pickles. Those are just packed into the jars and then you store them in the refrigerator or the freezer. They never go through a boiling water bath canner. For refrigerator ones, you would use those within a month. Freezer ones, you could store them for 3 or 4 months. Our best recommendation is to use your pickles or any of your home canned foods within 1 year.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
This is Eric Stonestreet, and as many of you know, I love my home state of Kansas. In March, Kansas ranchers lost homes, equipment, and thousands of cattle from the largest wildfires in the state's history. Imagine losing all you have in a fire. Not just your house, but your livelihood. Ranchers are beginning to rebuild, but it will take years. and tens of millions of dollars to build back herds, fences, and other infrastructure. Today, I'm asking you to help. Donate what you can and show your support to the ranchers of Kansas. Simply go to kansasfires.com. Your donation is tax deductible and will go to those who need it the most.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Riparian forest buffers are just a fancy term that basically describes a combination of trees, shrubs, and usually native grasses along some type of a stream. And there's lots of reasons to have them along these riparian or streamside corridors. When you look at property, it depends on if there's any existing trees right beside the stream itself or not. If there's not, it's usually a good opportunity to go in and start your planting adjacent to the existing stream bank and then plant out towards that. A typical buffer design has the faster growing trees right along the stream, and then you transition out into some maybe longer term, more valuable commercial species like your oaks and walnuts, to have then a shrub component on the outside of that to try to transition it into an open area such as a crop field. That adds extra benefit for wildlife as well. And then to have a grass corridor between the trees and the crop field, so the landowner's not fighting against tree branches in the future. It makes it kind of a nice transition. The grass also helps increase the filtering capacity of the buffer too. The two most common claimed are for water quality and water quantity benefits, and especially associated with a reservoir like Tuttle Creek. The sedimentation issue has been an increasing issue since its inception. Reaching its conservation pool in the early 1960s up till now, the sedimentation has increased to where the capacity of the reservoir has lost about 40%. So trees, especially along stream sides, can help increase that by helping stabilize the stream banks, the sediment along the banks. From the standpoint of sedimentation and how riparian forest buffers can help, to illustrate a little bit of the importance of the sedimentation issue, you can see here at Tuttle Creek Reservoir, this is the Fancy Creek State Park area. You can see over time how much sedimentation has accumulated in here. When the reservoir was built, this was one of the park areas that was to be utilized for camping, and now it's just not as accessible because of the sedimentation that has accumulated. Of course, this is where Fancy Creek and the Blue River come in from the north, and as the water starts to slow down, a lot of that sediment that's suspended in the water is dropped out and accumulates here, so you see more evidently the issues that we are and will be dealing with. The reservoir actually has the upper watershed boundary or drainage areas up into Nebraska. There's just shy of 10,000 square miles, with about 3/4 of that in Nebraska. Now when it gets into Kansas, there's about 1.5 million acres of drainage area. Some of the research that I've seen specifically to Kansas says that about 170 different sites along the rivers have been identified to contribute to over 500,000 tons of sediment annually to the reservoir, so trying to stabilize those streams are very important. I think this is an important issue not only in Kansas but nationally. This sedimentation is a natural process of a hydrological ecosystem, but in some instances such as this, with failing stream banks, with increased erosion, it can be sped up. So this is something not only at Tuttle Creek Reservoir that you can see issues with, but also in other areas.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Hello friends, I'm Ernie Rodina.
And I'm Dawn Dawson with the Better Horses Radio Show.
For over 9 years, we've been bringing the Better Horses Radio Show to markets all across the Midwest. We talk about God, lots about horses.
We talk about cows, we talk about horse health, we talk to top trainers, and we even talk about Roy Rogers.
We are having a blast with Better Horses Radio Show and would love to take it to a market near you.
So visit our website at betterhorsesradio.com and let us or your local radio station know you'd like to hear it in your area.
The Better Horses Radio Show is unbelievable.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hello and welcome to Horsing Around. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Today, joined by Dr. Katie Delph.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. Dr. Katie Delph is an assistant clinical professor here at the vet school and is boarded and is a specialist in equine internal medicine. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Delph works on a lot of the more complicated, potentially complicated issues that may be referred in or primarily seen here at the vet school, even by the owner directly.
That's correct.
One of the things that maybe Dr. Delph may see is a horse that is neurologic. And when you say a horse is neurologic, what could that mean? Because some owners would be like, well, I've never seen a neurologic horse, or why would I be concerned with neurologic? So what's a neurologic horse?
Yeah, so it can range from a variety of clinical signs that we see. So something as maybe innocuous sounding as your horse that's stumbling a little bit more when you're riding it, to a horse that is down and can't get up. And so again, it's kind of within that array, and we hope that we find those horses before they get down and can't get up, because that's definitely a more serious problem at that point. So some clinical signs may be that the horse is what we call ataxic or uncoordinated, so stumbling over their own limbs, maybe to the point where you notice when they're at a standstill that their legs are all pointing in different directions, or they're dragging their feet, or sometimes they can be really, really weak as well and have difficulty kind of holding themselves up.
And I think some of those things are even of a concern while an owner is riding too, that maybe they're fairly subtle, but they could be ataxic, and to have a veterinarian involved to really check those things out.
Definitely, yep, because it can be dangerous to the person as well that's riding that horse if you don't quite know how severe their disease is.
Right. Well, when you talk about neurologic horses, what could be some causes of a horse being neurologic? What could cause those things?
So one thing we think about, especially in young horses, is what we call cervical stenotic myelopathy, or the lay term for that would be wobblers.
Okay.
And there's some sort of compression of the spinal cord that's typically associated with development of that vertebral canal. Obviously, sometimes we know when something happened and some sort of traumatic injury, or sometimes, we may find the horse with the swollen neck that then we can pinpoint to that localization and find some sort of trauma or fracture in that area. Others could be some infectious diseases that we do vaccinate for, part of our core vaccine series, including West Nile virus or Eastern equine encephalitis as well. So a variety of potential causes.
And another one that sometimes owners kind of forget about is rabies. Horses can get rabies too.
They can, yep, yes.
And those signs, I think could be really all over the board as far as neurologic symptoms, I think, and having a veterinarian involved sooner than later can sure be helpful.
Definitely.
So what kind of, just real quick tests that could be done? You talked about, the cervical stenotic myopathy. What other type of tests could we do?
So we can do x-rays of the neck, and we can even do those out on the farm. Sometimes it's easier to interpret those if there's kind of a thicker necked horse, but definitely x-rays. We can also try to collect fluid from around the spinal cord, a cerebral spinal fluid tap, either under anesthesia or in the standing horse, and then do different tests on that fluid to try to rule out out or rule in some of our differential diagnoses.
Yeah, I think that, again, having your veterinarian involved, maybe even Dr. Delph, if need to, here at Kansas State to help with some of those things is important. Get your veterinarian involved.
Definitely.
Well, thank you, Dr. Delph.
Thank you.
Well, that is it for Horsing Around, and we'll see you around.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch AgAM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.